It was super easy. Maybe there's like a little bit more lag than normal. Um, yeah. Oh. Uh, hmm. No sound. No sound from anybody, or just no sound from you, Fred. I figured Skype would have a sound. Ah, crap. It's not capturing the sound from the Skype. All right. That's not good. Uh, uh, you know what? There was a how-to on this, and I was like, you know what? I'll just do it myself. And I think I might have not did everything I was supposed to do. So we're gonna turn off for a few minutes and try to figure this out for those watching live at home. So
Okay, we are. I think we are. We had some difficulties earlier. Now, and as usual, I'm Fred Lambert, your host of the Electrek Podcast, joined by my co-host Seth Weintraub.
how you doing?
Is everything fine on your side, Seth?
So I can see you.
All right, I can see you too. I can hear you. But earlier, when we started the broadcast, people couldn't hear us. And now I still don't see the live stream. Do you see the live stream on your side? I'm not sure it went back on the same stream since we started earlier.
Sometimes it takes a couple seconds, but I hit start.
Yeah.
There's only two people watching now, so
Yeah, that doesn't seem right.
stream says it's going.
But is it the same stream that we shut it down when it didn't work? Oh, yeah, it's working now. I can see it. All right. We are back on, though I only see myself. I don't see you on the stream.
All right. So we're just
Can anyone hear us? Well, you can hear me. I just saw me, but
and we're back.
I
Sort
don't
of.
know about you, Seth.
Somewhat now. Bit of a lag. Oh, great. A
All
new
right.
problem to deal with.
Big lag, and I don't think they can see you too, Seth. Hopefully, they can hear you at least.
I'm okay with that as long as they can hear both of us. We can hear you,
That's so
Fred.
weird.
Can you hear Seth?
Hmm. All right. We're gonna get started anyway. Earlier, but I think you guys couldn't hear me when I explained it. We used to use Google Hangouts to do these things live on YouTube, and they just shut down the whole product line completely, so it's not usable now. It didn't work great within YouTube and everything, so we had to find an alternative. And oh, you can only hear me. You cannot hear Seth
Okay,
either.
I'm adding myself in, I guess. Go ahead.
Okay, let us know if you guys can hear us, Seth.
Testing one, two,
Um,
three. Testing one, two, three.
Try Zoom. All right, we're gonna put it on the list, Gary, because this is not working well right now with the Skype alternative, Skype, and we are using OSB. Um, Seth, they cannot hear you, Seth. So, well, Seth will work on that and while he works on it, it's Seth is very quiet, so I feel he can hear you just very quietly.
All right, how about now? Is that better?
Oh, and I can also hear you a lot better, so that's
Okay.
probably it. All right, that was it. Okay, so we're gonna get started. Anyway, you just have gonna if you're on YouTube, you're just gonna have to stare at my dumb faces for the whole thing. In the EV for Tesla, it's probably the Megapack announcement. That's something that we knew was coming. It wasn't anything big surprise about it, but they are officially launching it. It's the latest N3 in their series of energy storage products. So, of course, there was originally the Powerwall and the Power Pack. Those were updated a few times since. And now they add the Megapack to it, which is up to 3 megawatt hour storage capacity system with a 1.5 megawatt inverter included in the same system. So it's like a container size, all in one included energy storage system that, of course, at up to 3 megawatt hour is just, it's not for your average installation, not for a residential project, probably even not for like the average commercial project. It's really more for a grid scale system for an electric utilities to replace some peaker power plants and things like that. And the goal is to ton of them together and get an even massive, even bigger energy storage capacity. And one of the first development that so we first reported on that a year ago, about a year ago when we first heard of the project. Not long after that, Tesla announced that they the lending energy storage project with PG&E in California. And a few months after that, Electrek obtained the plans for the project, and we could see in the plans that Tesla was planning to use the Megapack for the first time. So that gives us a good example here. Tesla is planning a 1.2 gigawatt hour system with the Megapack at Moss Landing. So it gives you an idea of the scale of the system. And we're talking about over 400 of those container size energy storage system put together, just massive. And with that, with putting more batteries together inside a system like that, Tesla thinks that it's more energy um, dense and takes less space to for the most landing. It's still going to take a ton of space because it's just, but you could make like much smaller system too. I mean, 1.2 gigawatt hour is huge. So Tesla didn't release any kind of pricing information because it's more a business to business product than anything else. But now it's there, and it's gonna accelerate the deployment. I think of Tesla's stationary energy storage a lot. We use all the cells for power walls and power pack. Had to be switched to Model 3 modules. So now it looks like they fixed those problems and they can ramp up stationary energy storage modules production to put in all those different system, power wall, power pack, and now even the Megapack. Are you excited, Seth,
Yeah,
about
I
this
mean, it seems
product?
like they're making it a lot easier for power companies, energy products, instead of throwing together a bunch of power packs. And you mentioned the size, like a gigawatt hour is the equivalent of 10,000 Tesla 100, P100Ds or whatever. So it's a huge kind of project, and to kind of do this with power packs would be kind of a mess. So you can kind of, I guess the size of this thing is about the same size as a shipping container. So, these are the kind of things you could probably put on the back of a truck, easy to transport. Um, they're all like boxed up and ready to deploy. So I think this will make these kind of deployments a lot easier. And of course, these are aimed at the, as you mentioned, peaker plants. These are smaller gas-powered plants that come on during like brownout type of periods. In particular, places like South Australia, California are very prone to this. So I think this kind of product in these kind of areas will be very popular with power companies.
Yeah, that makes sense. I think the listeners are still asking for you to crank it up a little bit, the volume. Yeah,
you asked for it.
I can hear you perfect. Yeah, I can hear you perfectly. So that's I don't get it, but maybe because I hear you just through the Skype and there's something different through the stream with you. We'll see. One other thing that I find interesting is that now we're starting to see Elon Musk fulfill his promise with the superchargers and with the deployment of the V3 energy storage and solar with it. But of course, the argument is always, yeah, but it's not enough. It's barely covers like for electricity of a supercharger station, especially a V3 supercharger station. Dropping one of those Megapack at every supercharger station would create a lot of value for Tesla. I think, of course, the place. I mean, it's a big product. Takes a supercharger station normally are located in more places that are sometimes space constrained. So I'm not sure if it will work everywhere, but it could work at a lot of places. And is it the inverter is 1.5 megawatt of a supercharger station. So that would cut down peak charges significantly, like by a lot.
I think they could probably almost entirely remove them because even at
Charges
peak on a version 3 supercharger, you're not going to be at that high point the whole time. Like on a Model 3 at 250 kilowatts, that happens for just a short period of time, and then the cars kind of go down. So worst case scenario, Tesla could limit the station to only coming off of the battery, and theoretically a few of those cars would have to lower their top speed, but overall it's going to save the network a ton of money.
If you look at it like the most simplistic way possible, you need like 10 Model 3s to come out at the same time near empty to reach demand at the same time. So for the station that are more than 10 stalls, which is most station, but not that V3. I mean, the only full V3 station there is now is the one in Vegas that opened last week, and 24 stalls. So it's not impossible, likely, but the equivalent of that of a 2.5 megawatt load is not impossible. And I mean, and won't happen a lot. It's gonna.
I mean, Tesla could have settings in such a way that whenever demand hits, they don't take anything from the grid. They only take from the battery, and then they deplete the battery. And I guess like if it goes all the way down, then they got to take some peak demand. But I feel like the demand charges are so high that it would be kind of silly for Tesla to take those huge charges versus slowing down charging a little bit for the high end users. I mean, most users aren't even at 100 kilowatts.
For most of their charging session, yeah. And could probably still offer the capacity inside the Megapack as a grid stabilization asset for the local utility if they can, if sort of like a net metering system that they offer for solar. They offer some frequency stabilization services with that could be a possibility to have a different revenue stream for the supercharger station while using the Megapack. So I see a lot of value in the new product. Tesla, I'm sure Tesla is going to find a few ways to. But I think they're going to get plenty of them in from utilities in the first place. So maybe it's not going to be a priority to put them on supercharger station, but I'll keep an eye out for that. The next big news, which arguably is even bigger than Megapack this week, is roof production rate that they are aiming for. So they're installing capacity to try to reach 1,000 solar roof per week by the end of the year. That is a lot. That is a lot, not just in comparison of what Tesla's already installed, which we believe is just in a few hundreds at best since the product launch 2 years ago. So from that standpoint, the way you look at it, per roof, the last quarter, Tesla deployed 29 megawatt. So the solar roof quarterly installations based on the previous quarter's rate. So that's a lot. And we're only talking of solar panels retrofit systems, which I would assume would be just as big or bigger of a market than, I mean, most roof in the US don't need to be retrofitted. So it makes more sense for most people to install solar panels than it would to install a whole new roof with solar, I think. If you need a new roof, then that's when solar roof becomes a viable option. But yeah, 100 megawatts would be, and at the price of a solar roof, which we've seen is, I don't think I've seen anything for less than $65,000, and I've seen a bunch of them like $85,000. It's basically the cost of a Model S, and Tesla produce fewer than 1,000 Model S per week. The year would be a bigger product for Tesla than the Model S.
Not as far as profit, but revenue. It would certainly be a big number. Although I have to say it does sound like a little bit ambiguous, as in roof. It's weird that they said roofs and not like, how many megawatts of solar panels.
Yeah.
I mean, a roof can be a small, like it can be like a 1 kilowatt roof, I guess. We saw that one that they did in 24 hours, and that was a pretty small roof, right?
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah, it doesn't make much sense. You're right. I mean, it's easier for the average person to understand, like it's just a roof, but especially what's the mix, because we know that the roof there's a mix tile and non-solar tile, so it's very ambiguous, right? But anyway, you look at it, the high production, and we also learned this week is looking to build a structure and the Fremont Factory to install and test the solar roof tiles themselves, but also the installation of the solar roof tiles, because that's a big part of the deployment. I'm not that much concerned about them being able to produce enough roof tiles to make 1,000 roof per week on the production side, but earlier this year, an average solar roof installation still took about 2 weeks,
which is crazy. Usually like a solar system roof is a 2-day project at most.
Yeah, and an average, well, of course, it's much to do a rural roof than just installing the solar panels. So if you compare a year's more like years labor work for the installation team of production if you sell all those. So you're gonna need either a giant installation team, like giant, or you need to figure out a way to reduce the labor time for installing one of those solar roofs. So it looks like they're gonna in technique with this structure that's gonna come up in Fremont Factory. They obtained permit for it last month, and they're also gonna test, of course, the product itself. I mean, I think it was a few said they had some testing the longevity of the roof, which I get. Aging testing, they call it. That's that has to be complicated when you want to do it on a 30-year period, which they were aiming for 30 years, so not an easy thing to test for. All right, more of a service announcement, and then for those who don't know, Tesla dog mode is the way that car so that you can leave a pet inside the vehicle, and there's also an image that displays on the center screen that shows the temperature inside the car, so any passerby that see a dog in the car in the sun doesn't panic and see that the dog is fine. The owner found that it was an issue that if you're not on auto climate control, if for whatever reason manually change the fan speed instead of leaving it to auto, even if you activate dog mode, apparently it doesn't work. So important to know for owners, if you're a dog in the car, you don't realize that dog mode is not activating. And Elon's quickly said he's going to fix it, and I just got a confirmation from Tesla saying that they started to roll out that fix today. So that's the good news. Quick fix, less than 2 days, I think. Though that still needs to roll out, so you still need to get that software update. So still be on the lookout for that, for that bug or whatever you want to call it. You should get the fix in their next update or so. All right, moving on from Tesla. Audi had quite the announcement this week. The e-tron SUV with a small. They are calling it the e-tron 50, and I guess the current e-tron is known as the e-tron 55. But since it was the only variant, like we didn't really call it anything, which is the e-tron. This new e-tron 50 comes with a 71 kilowatt-hour battery pack compared to the 95 kilowatt-hour battery pack of the main version. It's about 120 kilograms, 5 pound lighter. Okay, now here's the thing. Audi told us that they don't plan to launch that car in North America. So it was only a release for Europe. They didn't explain why exactly, but we do have an idea why. But in terms of that, because of the range ratings that they advertise for it, in Europe, they're using now the WLTP, which as well as much optimistic as the previous one, the NEDC, but it's still more optimistic than the EPA range, which we real world range. The 95 kilowatt-hour version of the Audi e-tron was getting 248 miles of range, 299 kilometers. Of course, we know it to be closer to 200 miles of range, and the EPA rated range, which is 204. So that doesn't make sense here. But for your point of comparison, the WLTP for the new 71-hour kilowatt-hour is 186 miles. That's 299 kilometers. Should be a lot shorter. I mean,
yeah, probably about
I'd be surprised.
right?
Yeah, 50. Like, would that be good? I think for that because we know it's just not that efficient of a car. Maybe those 260 pounds make a big difference. I'm not. I don't think that's the biggest factor, but it will make a little difference.
But so getting skipping ahead, your point is that why would Audi make such a car? 150 miles isn't that great of a product. I think the reason is kind of like what Tesla did in Canada. They're doing in Germany, where you have to have a lower priced car to kind of squeak under the tax incentive. Is that right? Is that what we're thinking?
Well, in the release itself that they sent in European market, they do mention. Oh, by the way, because it's yet, so we don't know exactly, but they did say in Germany in euros, which would give them EV incentive. So sure, part of the plan for that. However, there's other things too. I mean, first of all, so you could argue that that it's a compliance car because they're not launching it in the US. I mean, I also think that they are launching just in Europe because in Europe, WLTP standard, and it hurts less to advertise with 186 mile than advertising at whatever in the US it would be what, like maybe like $65,000 that car. A $65,000 car with that you're gonna have to 150 miles of range.
That would be painful.
That's a
right.
hard sell, very hard sell. So that's probably that car here. I mean, it sounds like they're bringing it all over Europe. So not just in Germany, and so far I think Germany is the main market that makes a difference for the incentive. So I wouldn't necessarily call it the compliance car. I think that plays a bigger role. Number two, the other thing too that could play a role into this is cell supply. Of course, you need fewer cell per car if you have a smaller battery pack. And we hear that Audi is cell constrained with the production of the e-tron mini cells from, I think it's LG that's supplying them. So that would be a way for them to be able to produce more cars with the same amount. And in Germany, it could make sense in Germany if I think it's what, 4,000 euros or something. 4,000 euros, you manage to reduce the price by another 10,000 euros with the battery pack. So maybe some people will like it. I mean, really 150 miles, 300 kilometers. It's still good. I mean, you're gonna have a tough time to do a long distance road trip with this,
Yeah,
but
places in Europe are closer together, so maybe that makes part of
that
it.
too.
Maybe that's just a testing ground for them.
Though I feel like Germany, they do a lot of longer distances
and at high speeds as well. So forget about that 150 miles. You're probably going to get like 80 miles. Yeah, at 200 kilometers per hour.
Yeah. It's they're bringing smaller battery pack. They also say that the charge rate has been reduced. It went from they advertise a charge rate for 150 for the full battery pack, but we know that it can actually go up to 155, and they actually managed to maintain that through pretty deep. That's good, but now they say that the new 71 kilowatt hour version is going to top off at 120. Hopefully, it can maintain it for a long time, like they do 155.
Yeah, I get it too. Stop.
Central.
Oh man.
That's the sound. Yeah.
Not having a good day with the podcast, folks.
Yeah. Not a good day for the video. Though the people on the stream saying that the audio is also not great, so I don't know. I thought that at least the audio listeners of this podcast, this episode would be fine, but no, you two are getting it this way. Apologies. All right, so they said this thing is gonna launch later this year in Europe. Oh, yeah, charging speed lowered. horsepower to about full output. It's been a little bit reduced, so your acceleration, your top speed is also going to be a little bit limited. Yeah, I'm supposed to get an e-tron for a full review. We did a few test drives, and I like the car a lot. Other than everything, other than the fact that it's not that efficient for an electric car, I liked everything else. It's a solid SUV, solid premium SUV otherwise. So, but since my problem was already with the efficiency and the range, and this one doesn't fix just for saving some money. Unless your lifestyle, the way you already drive your car, like you're someone who you just don't like driving long distances, or taking a plane or taking the train, then maybe that. Otherwise, I just don't see it much. I know. Porsche announced 30 reservation. Taycan reservation. Sounds weird. 30,000. We're in August now, so it's going to be released next month. The production version, I mean. You excited, Seth?
Yes, I am. I would like one.
It's going to be a cool car.
It is a very cool car.
Earlier this year, they said...
I think 35,000.
And they said 30,000. 2,500 is the deposit that they require. So people are very interested in that car because they are putting down $2,500 to get that reservation. It's refundable, but still, I mean, it shows interest for it. I mean, it shows interest for a Porsche electric car. They started taking reservation for the ID. I don't think the ID3 is at 30,000 yet. Last time we heard, I think it was for the ID3 was going to be a much cheaper car, of course.
Put down reservations for Volkswagen Golf.
That's a good point. Yeah, and to be fair, they also had a much shorter time to get a reservation. I think they just started a few months ago, while the Porsche has been accumulating reservation for a while now for the Taycan, maybe 2 years almost. And I think they're also limited on the markets for the ID3. I think the ID3 is only like a few European markets, not even the whole of Europe. And of course, it's not even going to be available in North America. The Taycan is going to be available, so to get excited for the Taycan. I cannot wait to drive that car. It's it's gonna be fun. All right. And one of them looks like it's actually going to production. From is to be able to meet other Chinese company and just see what some of those cars, because some of them looks insane, and this one is definitely one of those that looks insane. The Human Horizon HiPhi one, HiPhi, I don't know, HiPhi 1. Apparently they are well funded.
But we have heard well funded before, and it doesn't always turn out great. So that by itself isn't going to get them anywhere.
Yeah, though they did something that I like they only unveiled the car now. They unveiled the HiPhi 1 after having a factory ready to, well, maybe not ready to build it, but they already have. They bought back a factory from Kia, Chinese joint venture, So and they're gonna produce that car there, some kind of premium SUV, a mix of Model S and X at the same time. Like it's not that high. It looks like almost a sedan. As the third Falcon wing doors, but it has with for the and the back door opens up like a gold wing door, but it's basically just a roof door because you can also operate the passenger door as a suicide. Well, I wasn't gonna say normal door, but it's a suicide door still. And the inside, from the inside, you have like the center screen that looks a lot like a Model S1, and you also have a giant screen for the passenger too, like just for the passenger basically, because the driver doesn't even see it because the center screen blocks the passenger screen, but you have a huge screen as a passenger, so you can play with that. They didn't into details about the specs more than that. They're gonna offer a variety of different power, and the max battery pack option is gonna be 96 kilowatt hour. They say it's gonna get in China. I think they still use mostly the NEDC standard, right? When they talk
As far as
about
I know,
range.
yeah, they don't have their own.
Yeah, so it's 100 miles of range on 96 kilowatt hours, and 0 to 62 miles per hour, 100 kilometers in 3.9 seconds. So it's gonna be like a premium car, performance vehicle, and they're gonna start production in 2021. That's what they are aiming for. So that's a one new crazy prototype EV that we saw this week. We just reported earlier today on another one, Fresco Motors. And you guessed it, it's it's actually not China. This one is coming from Norway. Norway for the world's leader in the HiPhi class. But Fresco Motors want to change that. I mean, if there's a lot of demand in Norway for EVs, there should be a lot of demand in Norway for Norwegian EVs. And the unveil, I mean, the unveil a bunch of computer animated and produced general specs. I don't think that they have a working prototype or anything like that. I think it's like they're developing something and they wanted to start to generate some. Uh, I mean, we just posted them on Electrek and check them out, the pictures. I think there's something wrong with it. Well, of course, it always looks something off, but I posted it in the room and asked, like, well, what do you think it is? And you had a good point about it. That also Michael, one of our editors, also had a good point. Michael said that it looks a little bit like it has a Chrysler 300 feel. And I mean, you cannot look at the front end; doesn't that look anything like a Chrysler? But I do see the proportion of it, like it looks like the Chrysler 300,
Which is a nice car, by the way.
And Seth,
a good-looking car.
Yeah, it is a nice car, yeah, for sure. But Seth also with the original Model
S, nice rounded front, even though it had the what do you call that, nose cone. So that's always been my favorite Model S. I think that just has kind of a more interesting look than the Model S sedan that came out, and then the updated fascia. Both great looking cars, but I still think that original front end prototype of Model S is the best. Maybe the best car Tesla ever so far produced.
Yeah.
You know what? Never mind. The Roadster is probably a lot better than that. So I take that back. But up until the new Roadster, I would say that.
Well, if we stick to the Model S, the latest Model S with the new front end and everything, you think that looks worse than the original prototype?
Yes. I mean, I'm not a fan of nose cones, generally speaking, but I just love the rounded front end. It reminded me of, not a Miata, I guess, but like there was a Pontiac Solstice or something like that had a really nice rounded front.
Do you guess who designed the Pontiac Solstice?
Yeah.
Franz Wilhelmsen, yeah.
Yeah, I knew that.
You know what? It reminds me more of like a Fisker type of thing. I actually like more. I think the latest. Maybe I'd like it more than the current one. I'm not sure, but yeah, I can see it definitely on the front end here. Similarity there. In terms of dimension, it's actually right between the Model S and the Model 3. So what they're doing here is two very popular cars in Norway. And in terms of specs, now that's where it gets a little bit shady because the range, they don't disclose it. They just say that you're not going to have any range anxiety. All right. I already don't have any range anxiety in my electric cars, but okay. And some people are going to have range anxiety with different ranges, different potential for distances. But okay, kilometer per hour, so that's 6.2 miles per hour in just 2 seconds, flat. Top speed 300 kilometers per hour, 186 miles per hour. They achieved that higher top speed with a 4-speed automatic gearbox with something called overdrive. Right, that's rare that you see different speeds on a electric motor. They're using an AC induction motor. They didn't disclose the power output for it, but it's gonna have to be crazy to do 62. And you're gonna have to have some good traction too. I don't really see it for a sedan that I doubt it. They're gonna have a few other like weird features too. I mean, wireless charging. Well, that's not that weird, but kind of weird because you don't really need it. It's solving a problem that doesn't exist. Like plugging in your car is not that big of an issue. Like, but all right, it's like a fun thing to have. Portable batteries. They say that they're basically jealous of the owners of cars with internal combustion engines full of gasoline. They want to do the same for the car. Actually, in the Senvi, they never did, but it was pack that you could put in the back of your car with a G1772 connector on it, and you can just plug that in and charge just top off your car with, I think it was like 2 kilowatt hours maybe. But then you're traveling around with, however that thing weighted was probably like a more weight that you wouldn't really need most of the time. But I don't know, if you're someone who worries about that stuff, maybe it's a good idea. So they want to do something like that, but that comes standard with a car or something. I don't put a lot of stock on it. I think it's all vaporware for now. But just maybe, I think it was most interesting because it's Norway. Like Norway might actually have a speaking of solving a problem that doesn't really exist. Electrify America autonomous fast charging self-driving fleet. So they're preparing for, it's not like they want to do that for their average station just because people have been complaining about having to get out of the car and plug. We've seen a bunch of projects like that. I mean, I saw a few German prototypes last year. Of course, Tesla way back when had the robot snake that plugged in automatically. They never did anything with that. This is a more like simple version of that. Instead of being an actual like snake like with the cable inside, it's just your average commercial robot arm, and they connect the cable to it, and the thing has a camera, and they can see where it needs to plug in and just bloop, plug it in. They want to deploy that, have it operational by the end of early in 2020, and it's going to be in San Francisco. which is smart because they already have a self-driving car there. Well, having but all the prototypes fleet like Cruise has a big fleet there. GM has Cruise. Uh, who else is testing there?
Apple
Who
is
else?
apparently.
Apple is testing there, yeah. But I think Cruise has the biggest fleet right now, and so they could probably and Cruise use the Bolt EV, so they could charge there at the station. Could be cool. It's more like preparing for the future, really, of course, than anything else. All right. Lastly, we also have something that it's interesting to discuss because, especially here in our, everybody knows about electric cars. Um, there's still a big awareness and education problem. A new study that came out from GD Power this week. They partner with SurveyMonkey to start a new index. They call it the Mobility Confidence Index, and there's two parts to it. There's confidence into self-driving vehicles and confidence into battery electric vehicles. Won't spend too much time on self-driving. I think it's a little bit premature, like to check the confidence of self-driving cars when there's just no self. So I could the score was 35 out of 100, 36 out of 100 for self-driving cars, which is surprisingly high for me because like no one has ever been in a self-driving car really. Like you use autopilot, that's not self-driving. Fully self-driving car. I mean, Waymo did some with customers directly, but very. I think it will go way up once someone has an actual commercial product. But for battery electric vehicle, I think it's more interesting because, of course, we are very interested in the adoption of the technology, and it's been around for decades, really, and more intensively in the last decade. And it's still got only a 55 out of 100, and that's a mix of different scores. If we go into the more like specifics here, a few things that jump that became obvious to me that are kind of weird. Only 61% of the respondents said that electric vehicles are better for the environment than other, which means that almost
education is low.
Yeah, education low, but almost one of the three people thinks that electric cars in the U.S. are worse for the environment than gasoline vehicles. And I think that stems from, of course, the propaganda about you have an electric car, then you're just burning coal instead of burning gasoline. True to a degree in different states, but plenty of studies looking at the full what do you call it, cradle to grave. Yeah, the full life cycle, cradle to grave, of gasoline and gasoline, including all the refineries that goes into burning gasolines and everything like that. And on the electric car side, on the battery and the electricity side of it. And in every state now, it's better for the environment. You emit fewer emission if you're driving electric than you're driving a gasoline car. And that's only getting better too because the mix of renewable energy in the grid in the U.S. and around the world is getting better. There's just solar and wind and hydro and geothermal, the fastest growing source of power. More is coming online on the grid, the cleaner it is to charge on the grid. So that's something that we need to dispel exactly there. So that's 39% of the population that we could convince there that would change their view on EVs. But some other things here. 2/3 of the respondents, 68%, said that they have no experience, and that means they never even been in one. So not only they've never driven one, they've never been driven in one. So that's right there also a big opportunity. We just get more people inside the cars to get someone in it. I think everyone that's driven my Tesla has one in one after. I don't remember anyone that, and I let anyone drive my car. I go pick up someone. I go on the passenger seat right away and like, you want to drive? Because like people say it's the best way to convince people to go electric, and everyone finished the drive and say, yeah, okay, what's the price again? Like they try to figure it out, and okay, I need to sell that to my
Right.
wife and whatnot.
How many referrals do you at these
But
days?
boy, I've never checked. I don't think a referral means anything for me anymore. They
You
don't
have a
make any
slightly better
difference.
chance of winning a Model Y. That's
Yeah, if that's really happening, is anyone winning a Model Y? Tesla says that they are raffling those Model Y, but we've never heard anything about it. I'm not sure that they're doing one. And on the supercharger side of things, they're not giving me the supercharger. Like it's
are
not piling. I
are
know that
you
for you,
are
it's
you
piling
getting
up.
charged when you go to a supercharger?
Um, that's the thing. I've never been charged to for my. It says that my Model 3 is not on the free supercharging, but I've never seen it charged. So I don't know, but I don't see on your system. You showed me last time that you're accumulating those free supercharging miles. I don't see it on mine. But just for the sake of it, on the latest version of the program, I have 116 referral delivered. How many ordered? Uh, 37 on order right now. So over 150. That's since May or
Yeah.
something. Yeah, I had over 200 for the last one too. So over, I'm probably closing in on 400
Total.
or something. For yeah,
Yeah.
and yeah, it should be an easy product to sell. Of course, it's not for everyone yet in terms of price and in terms of different models available. I know that some people need minivans and some people need pickup trucks, so those definitely need to go
Need is a
electric.
strong word, but
But
people strongly prefer uh, these
yeah,
different form factors. I find I have a friend who has two kids and he needs a third row, and I'm like, you don't really need a third row. And he's like, well, I'd feel better about having a third row, so I can't get a Tesla. Well, I mean, you could get a Model X, but he doesn't have the budget for that. But I kind of recommended
mm-hmm.
the Kona um, or the Bolt, and he said those are way too small. So
Yeah, that's the thing. Everyone, when I say when they ask what you do for a living, I say I work with electric vehicles. I report on electric cars and everything like that. I test them and whatnot. They always say, well, what's the best to buy? What's the best electric car to buy right now? I mean, then you feel bad about saying it's a Tesla because it's so expensive, and you're like, all right, it's a Tesla. Oh, you cannot afford a Tesla. I'm like, all right, and I know. And then you go to the second best car that you can still buy those cars. They're still great cars, but you ask me which one is the best. It is a Tesla, but I know you probably cannot afford it. So then you have to say you're gonna go with the second best, and like people are not like happy with that. But if you're asking me what's the best gasoline car to buy right now, for the either. So it's just,
right.
I don't know why people have a different reaction to it when it's an electric car. It's
What is
strange.
the best if you had to recommend somebody to get a non-Tesla car, uh, both budget and not budget? What would you recommend?
Well, budget. I mean, car and everything like that. Because I mean, now here we're getting a bunch of Kona EVs, which I probably recommend here. But if I'm somewhere like in California, I think a lot of people in California right now should look into getting one of those deals on a Bolt EV lease.
Yeah, the Bolt is a nice car. I think that was probably next to the EV1, probably General Motors' biggest, like, they had it and they blew it kind of thing. The
Yeah.
the, the Bolt is a fantastic electric vehicle. Um,
To be clear, I said a lease though.
yeah,
I'm not saying buy it. I wouldn't recommend buying a
Yeah, I
Bolt
mean,
EV right
it's
now.
definitely going to depreciate in value because a lot of other EVs are coming. But like for when I got mine, which was 2017, it was, it's got a ton of range. It had relatively fast charging, although now it's nothing. It's speedy. It's got a lot of space. It's very reliable. I mean, but the problem is they didn't fix anything over the 3 years. Like, still has the same crappy
Hmm.
seats. Still has like the tires.
You should just have faster charging. That's the main.
Yeah, and you know
You
what's
should
funny
figure out
is
faster.
they could easily do it because it can regen up to 70 kilowatts. So if you're on the highway and you hit the paddle and you're regenning as hard as you can, you're getting 70 kilowatts of regen. So if it can regen at 70 kilowatts, it sure could charge at 70 kilowatts. And
At the battery level, yeah, it might be another bottleneck somewhere.
yeah, but
But also, when it came out in 2017, there was nothing other than the Tesla Supercharger. There was nothing
Right.
over 50 kilowatts. So they just said, okay, we just do 50 kilowatt then. But of course, the whole EV infrastructure
improved.
market changed over the last few years. But GM didn't change
Yeah,
the Bolt
I mean,
EV
it
in the
actually
last few
charges
years.
at 54 kilowatts for quite a bit of time. So, it's a little bit better, but
Mm.
it's nothing compared to a Model 3. We're actually taking the Bolt up to Vermont this weekend, and we're like, we're gonna spend a lot of time at the charging station.
What you taking you have a Model X and a Model 3?
I don't know. We've got a lease on the Model X and the Bolt. The Model X has like 30,000 miles on it, and we have like 3,000 miles left before we go over. The Bolt has like 16,000 miles on it. So we have like 14,000 miles left on the Bolt and 3,000 miles left on the...
Oh, it's a lease, the Bolt
Yeah,
too. You have a
yeah.
lease. Okay, I thought you bought the Bolt.
No, I bought the Model 3.
Yeah, the Model 2 I know you have.
And
Yeah, because, so coming back to the lease, I don't know how much you paid in New York, but I know that in California and some places now, like they have some crazy deal where you can get away with a Bolt with just a few $1,000s cash down, 200. Sometimes I've seen less than $200 a month. So when you take that and you take your gas, if you're you take your gas saving into account, it makes a ton of sense for a lot of people. You'll save money quick. And you get, like you said, it's still a fun car. More fun than most gasoline car for that price range.
yeah, I mean, you autocrossed it. Seemed like fairly entertaining.
Yeah, that was a ton of fun. Oh, yeah. That was my first experience with autocross, and still got some good times. Competitive times. Yeah, if you have an engine car, don't be shy about letting people drive it, and it's gonna help EV adoption very quick, I think. That's pretty much it for us this week, guys. Working through our audio and video. Yeah, our audio and video issues, and next week we'll hopefully have that fixed. Also, we were a little bit earlier this week. It's my birthday. I'm going out and leaving early. Thank you, guys. Birthday's coming from online. Thank you. So next week we should be back at the same time, at 4 p.m., 1 p.m., 4 p.m. Eastern time, 1 p.m. Pacific time. All right. Talk to you next time.